Welcome to Honey Bee. Real stories of love, lies, and betrayal, where every truth stings. Let's begin. My name is Cooper, and I want to share the story of the day my wife left for a solo trip and returned to find me gone for good. This is how our marriage slowly faded, through silence, miscommunication, and the heavy shadow of dreams that never came true. By then, I was exhausted. I stopped trying. I quit asking about her plans, quit suggesting date nights, quit forcing conversations. She seemed relieved. We became polite strangers splitting bills. The house felt like a dance of avoidance. I left for work early, before she woke. She returned late, often after I'd eaten. Weekends were spent apart, me in the garage or basement, her in the living room or gone entirely. Communication became notes on the counter or texts about bills, groceries, or family obligations. Her work schedule suddenly filled with late nights and weekend commitments. I wondered if it was real or just another excuse to stay away. The strangest part? This lifeless routine started to feel normal. After months of tension, the emotional flatness almost felt like relief. No arguments, because there were no expectations. No disappointment, because there was no hope. We existed as efficient, detached roommates. In those last months, I seriously considered divorce. Not to punish her, but because I realized we weren't truly married anymore. She had already built a life without me. One evening, I came home to find her car missing and a note on the counter in her neat handwriting. She said she was taking a solo vacation to think about what she wanted from life. She wasn't sure when she'd be back and asked me not to call her, needing space to figure things out. No apology. No discussion. Just a note, as if she'd run to the store. I sat at the kitchen table, almost laughing at the absurdity. My wife had essentially run away, leaving word like she was announcing errands. That night I barely slept. I thought about the past 2 years, about waiting endlessly for her to remember we were a team, about trying to breathe life into a marriage she had already buried. By morning, I'd made up my mind. If she wanted space, I would give her all the space she needed, permanently. Crystal and I had been married for several years when it all unraveled. We'd met back in college and tied the knot soon after graduation, full of the same big dreams most young couples have. We wanted it all, a house with a yard, kids playing outside, family gatherings, barbecues, the whole picture. We rented a 3-bedroom place in a decent neighborhood, planning ahead for the children we were sure would come. The fenced backyard felt perfect for future playtime. Every month, she'd show me houses for sale online, pointing out which ones had enough rooms for the big family she always pictured. About a year into marriage, we started trying for our first child. The first miscarriage happened early. The doctor reassured us it was common and didn't mean anything was wrong with either of us. Crystal took a few days off work, and we grieved together. I thought we'd faced it side by side. After the waiting period, we tried again. The second loss cut deeper. She stopped talking about baby names, stopped showing me dream houses online, and stopped mentioning children altogether. Still, she laughed at things, wanted to watch shows with me, and held my hand when we walked. Our marriage had warmth, and I thought she just needed time to heal. But then came the third miscarriage, this time after we'd already shared the news with family. Her sister had even started buying baby clothes. Losing that pregnancy wasn't just our grief anymore, it was everyone's disappointment. That loss changed her. She stopped initiating conversations. When I tried, she'd give short, distant replies. If I pressed even a little, she snapped or twisted my words into something hurtful. I began walking on eggshells at home. More and more, she was out with friends. Sometimes she left notes, dinner with the girls, movie night, don't wait up. At first, I was relieved she had support. But weeks turned into months, and while her social calendar grew, our marriage shrank. She was gone 3, sometimes 4 nights a week. Weekends became hers with her friends, while I sat at home wondering if it was just temporary, if she only needed time before remembering we were supposed to be partners. But that cycle lasted a year. A year of an empty house. A year of lying beside someone who turned her back to me every night. Over those 2 years, I tried everything I could think of. I suggested counseling. She refused, saying she wasn't ready to share with strangers. I planned surprise date nights. She came reluctantly, glued to her phone, answering with one word at a time. I tried giving her space, thinking maybe I was smothering her, but it only pushed her further away. I even attempted to join her social circle, hoping we could find common ground again. But when I showed up, the atmosphere changed. I wasn't welcomed, only tolerated. Her friends clearly saw me as the problem. I started working longer hours to avoid the loneliness. I took on extra projects, sat through meetings I didn't need, even thought about a promotion that required travel. But when I mentioned any of it, she barely looked up from her phone. Holidays during those years were brutal. Our families expected us to show up together, to keep up the illusion of happiness. She played her role well, laughing, touching my arm, acting the devoted wife in public. But as soon as we got in the car, the mask dropped, and silence filled the space. It felt like she blamed me for our lack of children. One Christmas, I bought her a necklace she had admired months earlier. She opened it, said, "Thanks," and set it aside without trying it on. Later, I found the box untouched on her dresser. It sat there for weeks before I quietly put it away. That necklace became a symbol of our brokenness. My effort met with indifference. The silence wasn't the worst part. What hurt most was when she did speak, because it showed she no longer respected me. She rolled her eyes when I suggested spending time together. She dismissed my opinions, belittled my job, criticized my friends. The more I let it slide, the worse it got. Eventually, she openly disrespected me in every interaction. I began searching for an apartment. She had packed enough for a long trip, so I estimated I had a month to move out. I also contacted a divorce lawyer downtown. The consultation was straightforward. I explained that she had left without discussion, that our marriage had been dead for years, and that I wanted out. We had no kids, no major assets, separate accounts, just a rental house and basic household stuff. The lawyer said it would be simple. While waiting for paperwork, I started packing. It was surreal. The house we'd shared for years looked far more like hers than mine. She had chosen the furniture, the paint, the decor. My side of the closet was tiny compared to hers. The bathroom was filled with her products. Even the kitchen reflected our distance. The coffee maker I once used daily sat dusty, replaced by my habit of grabbing coffee on the way to work just to avoid silent mornings. I packed methodically. Some things gave me pause. Our wedding photo, the tool she'd given me one birthday, the books we once dreamed of saving for our children's library. In the end, I left most of it. Those things belonged to people we no longer were. The garage was hardest. It had been my refuge when the house felt unbearable. Packing my workbench felt like dismantling the last space that was truly mine. By the third week, I moved into a hotel, arranging movers for storage. Before leaving for good, I placed my house key on the kitchen counter. That small piece of metal held years of shared life, 2 years of quiet suffering, and the final truth that I no longer lived there. She returned the following week, just as I predicted. I knew because the process server confirmed she accepted the divorce papers at the house. That evening she called me. I almost didn't answer, but I figured she deserved one conversation. She rambled about how refreshing her vacation had been, how clear her mind felt. Then she asked about the divorce papers, if they were a mistake. She wanted to know why I had filed without talking, why I had moved out, why I was being dramatic about what she thought was just a break. I let her finish, then told her the truth. She was right, the break had been good. But it had been good for me too. Her month away showed me that I'd been clinging to something long dead. We had both been miserable, and no vacation could fix what we had lost. Ending it was the only kindness left. She went quiet, then hung up. Hours later, she texted asking if we could work it out. Counseling, another break, something. For a moment, hope flickered. But then I remembered the past 2 years, the lonely dinners, the contempt in her voice, the way she made me feel unwelcome in my own marriage. Most of all, I remembered that she needed to leave me completely just to realize she might want me. That told me everything. I never responded. The divorce took months, as Colorado law required a waiting period. She reached out a few times through her sister or friends, but I didn't reply. I'd already said everything in that one conversation. By the time the divorce was finalized, I was living a fuller life than I had in years. I had friends she'd never approved of, hobbies she never cared about, and opinions I was free to voice without ridicule. She didn't contest anything. She simply let the marriage dissolve. Now, a year later, I can honestly say her solo vacation was the best thing that happened to us. Not because it saved us, but because it ended what should have ended long before. She got the space she'd been asking for without realizing it, and I got the clarity I'd been avoiding. Do I miss marriage? Sometimes. I miss being married to the woman she was in the early years. I miss our dreams and the life we thought we'd build. But I don't miss the last 2 years of going through the motions. She asked for a break. I gave her a permanent one. She came back ready to try again, but by then I was already gone, not just from the house, but from the version of myself willing to live as an outsider in my own marriage. I learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stop forcing love on someone who doesn't want it. She wanted space. I needed respect. She took hers without asking, so I reclaimed mine without permission. She shut me out long before that vacation. All I did was make it official by the time she returned.